it's, from my perspective, it's, you know, again, the presumptive close. Assume you've got the close. Assume that you're going to be doing work with them. How do you start working with them? How do you demonstrate that? By the end of the conversation, it's like, okay, well, send me an invoice and let's get started, kind of a thing. Now, that doesn't happen all the time, you know. Sometimes it's just, you know, the chemistry in there, it doesn't fit. It's one thing or another, but oftentimes it does once I get through the process. And again, I'm not telling them anything. I'm just asking questions. And it's no different than, you know, the same process I use when I'm talking to a consulting client.
Do you have experience, or other people have experience with dealing with what I call short attention span theater? It's like you come into a meeting and you've got 5 people in a room and everybody's using their time. I'll go into the conversation. Nobody knows why I'm there or exactly, you know, what my qualifications are, and we're having like, it's almost like a ridiculous, useless conversation. They want to solve some sort of problem, but they haven't defined it much, or they don't know what, you know, what my qualifications are. And are you guys finding that?
That's every meeting.
Every meeting.
Because they're like, they know something's wrong.
Yeah.
You might be able to help them, but as you start to talk to them, you more discover what actually they're like. Problem is, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We're working through with them. What are they really doing?
And hopefully you can get them there. So I guess it's almost like I had this fantasy that I've like poked around with and tried a couple times. I'd like you to read my website before we have the conversation, before I get in the car for a half hour and go talk with you. That's my fantasy, you know, conversation. And I don't do it much because it sounds too pushy. Do you guys, is that too pushy? Or do you have another way to get them to pay attention?
So are you asking, is it more, they get in the, is the issue more in the room, the group of humans are not clear on what they want from you, or they don't understand your, well, somebody thought you were qualified for something,
Right.
Otherwise you wouldn't have gotten in the room. So I'm not sure which question, are you asking 2 questions or is one more important?
They really are too, and they're related. Certainly, if you're trying to, if they're trying to figure out why they have a consultant in the room, I can help them figure out what their problem is and help them move towards direction. But I don't. A lot of times they don't know like what category of work I'm even doing.
Got it.
That's our thing to sell yourself.
How did that meeting come about?
I usually come back because I've been referred in. But
Suzanne and then Randy.
So the first thing that comes to mind is an option. How would it feel to have whoever caused you to be in that meeting introduce you and say, here's why this guy's in this meeting. Here's his background. Here's why I've invited him. How would that feel as potential something to try?
sure, I like that, and sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Randy and then Mark.
And I don't know, it depends, I think it depends on the audience, but I always try to make sure that there's some cornerstone content about what we're going to be working on before I engage with the team. I talk to the person that will be leading that team. And if they let me, I like to do some sort of assessment and individual meeting with each person that's in that leadership team before we have our initial meeting, our initial meeting. It makes such a big difference in going in cold and flat-footed.
Mark.
I was going to make basically the same thing. You want to say, to make the meeting more productive, be very prepared for your meeting, you want to consult either the lead person, that is the person that's bringing the group together, or you're each individual kind of see what they're doing. Because you're going to be able to provide a lot better, unique conversation with them on why your services may be right for them. If you go in cold, you're going to be doing that in the room, and you're going to have people on the phone to prepare. So I would always offer a consult up front with the lead person that's currently training.
Yeah, I learned that one the hard way when I was pitching a search for a CEO, and I was up against 2 or 3 other executive recruiters, and it was sort of a panel kind of a thing with the private equity group that owned this company. And the mistake that I made was that I had my deck all right, with all my background material. It's like, you're in front of private equity guys. It's like, you know, cut to the chase. I don't want to hear all that. And, you know, it was going nowhere. And so it ended up going nowhere. The only good news is that the person they hired to do the search put the wrong person in there, and the company went belly up. So I took a perverse pride in that. So so I'm going to hell for sure for that. But
There are plenty of other reasons why.
thank you. Somebody got a rib shot. Rib shot. You've been married to Mark too long, and I've totally lost my train of thought.
I think that people, to your point about searching on LinkedIn before you meet with anybody, I think people like to be prepared ahead of it. So I don't think it would be unreasonable for people to ask that they at least read your bio and your, you know, and provided that your personal branding online is set up nicely. I think people like to do homework ahead of a meeting. I know I like to be prepared before I meet with anyone, and maybe that's a bit of a qualifier as well. If they're not willing to read something about you there for a meeting, maybe they're not a good client.
But you know, it happens all the time. And my good buddy Stan, that I've been so kind to today, was telling me about a consulting project he's working on right now with a bunch of millennials that have a really cool software product that fits inside of you know, one of the Microsoft programs. And he had the exact same situation. He goes into a meeting where he's trying to work on their culture and getting them to, you know, work together better and be not so dysfunctional and, you know, be more effective. And he goes into a meeting and, you know, nobody was, you know, teed into, you know, what the meeting was all about. And, you know, they were, you know, their head was in a different place. They're, you know, thinking about the project they should be working on. It was just, you know, really unproductive. So I think it's probably useful to, you know, make the assumption that if you're going to be going into a meeting, that worst case, they're not going to know, whoever's in the meeting is not going to know what it's all about. So you sort of have to, you know, take responsibility for that and get, you know, who's going to be in the meeting? What have you told them? Can I help you communicate, you know, that, again, putting yourself in the role of being somebody that's working with them already. So what can I do, you know, to make it easier for you to process this meeting? But yeah, that happens all the time. I mean, and it sucks, but you just have to anticipate that. Yes.
I'm feeling a little good about myself here. This was pure dumb luck. I was walking into a situation where the one guy and I knew each other really well, and they were having some struggles with building their middle management leadership team. And I was going to be in this meeting with a bunch of people I didn't know. So more out of my own fear, right, of getting into this situation and not being able to read the room or control the room or, you know, get them together. Out of my own discomfort, I asked my guy, hey, could you send out an email to your guy and say, what do you view as the problem? What do you view as the problem? And I'd like to have that information in advance. And man, you're asking someone their opinion. So boy, did they throw some stuff out there, and I got that in advance. And there was some stuff that had I been thrown that in the middle of the meeting, I would have had no way to respond. But because I had the information in advance, I was able to look up some stuff. I called some friends, so I was prepared. So I'm just wondering if instead of it feeling like homework, right? Here's the homework I want you to do before the meeting. Again, this was just pure dumb luck on my part. People love to be asked their opinion. What do you view as the problem? And so they, I think, inadvertently, I prepared them to be ready to work on that in the room, and they were already ready when they came in. They already had a chance to articulate. So anyway, I'll share that as something that happened.
Actually, this I just remembered a financial services client meeting about 6 or 7 months ago, and there were a bunch of power players in the room, and everybody's trying to control the situation, and we're not quite defining it all the same way. And I don't know what made me do this, but I just jumped up, I grabbed the marker, went over to the flip chart. I said, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to define what we're trying to do here. And I just basically did a quick outline, and it put everything back into play because they needed some guidance, or they didn't know that they wanted it. But fake this.
You're also demonstrating your value.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was gonna pick up on what you said about dumb luck, and what I've learned is that the operative word being dumb. A good competent consultant or leader isn't afraid to ask the dumb questions, like, to your point, you have a question like, do you guys know exactly what I do? These naive, dumb questions can be real provocative and open up understanding.
Yeah. Well, just I think the operative approach would be to assume the worst, and how do you prepare for that as you're going into the, and it's as simple as getting the names and the email addresses of the people that are going to be in the meeting, and reaching out to them individually and say, hey, looking forward to meeting you. This is what we're trying to accomplish. What, to Suzanne's point, what kind of issues are in your mind, and so that you get them involved, you get them engaged, and you're demonstrating your working style, in the process.